Nintendo. Now, what this is an electronic e-card scanner, basically, that connects onto your portable electronic Game Boy device. So this is basically what it looks like. It's made and manufactured by Nintendo itself, and it's called the Ereader. Very cool name, and it looks like a card scanner too. So what happens is that using the Game Boy Advance card slot, you just plug this in, and you have a connection slot. You would also plot that in, and then you would just turn on your device, and you can maybe scan a few cards. But it's not the type of cards like business cards or like e-reading actually cards or credit cards. But this is actually a very cool e-card, which is basically when you scan a card, it allows you to play like more games, and then it has a little bit of a built-in memory in this thing, which actually records the game, and you can actually play it's kind of like getting. I don't know, it's like kind of getting another console that connects to your device, and they can buy these cards, special cards, and sweep them. Now, the cards are a lot cheaper than if you buy, standalone Game Boy cartridges. Like, cartridge cards cost like $30. This device costs around $70, but then a card pack would only be like around $8. So that if you want to buy like a ton of games, this might be a very cool concept, and it's a very cool, interesting take on things. So there's a lot more uses than just games, too. There's a lot of very cool interactive things that use the laser card scanner, and there's also a lot of features that gets built in with this device. Not only is this just a card scanner game player with a memory built in to save your games, it also comes with this little slot on the bottom, which means that you can connect, once you put your Game Boy in here, you can actually connect this to another Game Boy in order to play a two-player kind of connection game. So this is also a connector along Game Boys, and it's also a connector along GameCubes. You can connect this into this, and also connect the other end to your GameCube, and then the two devices can share information. So it's a connector port, and it's a game device, which is very cool. So for $70, it's a very interesting take. So this is originally made for the Game Boy Advance, which is why you have this protruding edge here, but this black and gray plastic device is also compatible, we found, with Game Boy Advance SP, as well as a Nintendo DS Lite system. Now make sure it's the Lite system and not the Nintendo DS system, because this doesn't work. We'll get to that in a second. Coming on design, it just says e-reader. There's the plug. It's made out of plastic, but very sturdy construction. It's kind of large, which is one of our main concerns for transportation. But otherwise, there's a lot of technology built in, so it's kind of expected. This is a made-in-Japan product, which is kind of interesting as well. So with the Game Boy Advance system, what you would do was that you would just connect this into your bottom slot, and the only reason this works with Game Boy Advance is because the protruding part, which is this edge, actually misses the base, so it plugs in like that, and you can still use it. So it goes all the way in, and this is what it looks like. And then you see how this part is along the edge, but it doesn't actually touch, so it doesn't really affect it. Newest generation, you don't actually need this to use the gameplay. You might need this for Game Boy Advance to connect along other devices. We'll talk about that, though. And so you would turn the device on this side. The cards that they sell are kind of like Pokemon or connectable cards. So a lot of different options. There's also, a built-in. A popular card is Mario Bros. And there's also other options out there, which you can ultimately connect. We don't have a card right now. This is a pre-demo version. But let's just say we have a card here. We'll see how you can scan it. So you turn it on. This is the interface you're creating. It says e-reader. Press A button. So you have these different functions. Scan card, which if you press scan card, it directly starts to scan. And you can see that the red light in here is turned on. I don't know if you can see that. So if we just take our Pokemon card and scan it, this is actually, you need to kind of scan very slowly, and then you scan the dot card. It's kind of hard to see. There's an error because obviously it's not a real card and it's too slow, but there is actually a laser light, a very faint laser light that comes on, which is very cool, and we can press it again. And you can start it again. I don't know if you can see this, but it's very cool from my degree. And you just... Okay, and next function is the communication, which allows you to connect via different devices. But the best is that, like we told you, there's a built-in memory, so you can connect to access the last save card. So, the last save card that the manufacturer sent us, of course, they played on here, was called a game called Extra Bike. Of course, it's going to vary about what you played last, but just showing that this device does have memory, and you can definitely play games with this without using the card, which is pretty cool. I'll show you. So this is Extra Bike. this is just showing a recorded video of what we did. So if you want to start on the first track, we can play this biking game. It's pretty cool. Very similar to, having a real cartridge inside and playing a real game. So the sound all works. Of course, the graphics are all working. A lot of advanced situations. Oh, overheat. That kind of sucks. So, yes, very cool. You can race. This is the first version of the game, which you just race against yourself to collect your best games. It does record your best time. And that uses a little bit of memory as well. And then it also, another version of this game is just like Nimco biking. You can actually race against other players of the game and see what you rank. And I kind of suck at this game, so don't expect me to be the best demo here, but you should get the picture. If you fall, you lose time. Alright, so another thing we don't really like is that you can't really, technically, if you want to, after you scan a card, you can't go back to the e-reader menu without turning it off, which is kind of similar to a lot of Nintendo game cartridges. You have to turn it off first, which is a nuisance, but that kind of remains the same. So let's see. You can't really close it while you're in this mode because, of course, this part protrudes, and you obviously get this situation. But if we unplug this, the reason why it also works with Nintendo DS Lite system is because it's the same story. There's also no connection jack, so you're just going to have to use the connection port itself. So in this version, Nintendo DS Lite version, the game cartridge is a lot more shallow, so you can get extended outwards. It's kind of weird, having this huge bulky thing sticking out, but it definitely works. The connection is very tight, and it won't break your device, which is pretty cool. And the design is alright. You can also play the keyboard. Everything works fine without, it's not going to get in your fingers or anything like that. So obviously it works with Nintendo DS Lite system. With the Nintendo DS original system, it unfortunately doesn't work because it's too thick, and this part cuts the edge. So if we plug this in, what happens is that you can't get the thing, you see, you can't get the device fully in. The card slot isn't in yet, and it doesn't recognize that you have a card installed. So it doesn't work with that. So it does work with the DS Lite, or it works with the Game Boy Advance, or the Game Boy Advance SP, but it doesn't work with the Nintendo DS. So overall, a great device, very cool, interesting look, opens a lot of possibilities for virtual reality games and situations that allow for card scanning, and this is an e-reader made by Nintendo.